Let's go to NBC's Jesse Kirsch, who's monitoring the situation. He's in San Antonio, Texas, for us. Jesse, I just want to clarify and state up front, we really have a very fluid situation. We were carrying some of our local coverage, and if you've been listening, you may have heard different numbers and different determinations as to how many deceased there are. It sounds like there's a bit of a fog right now. We don't know exactly how many have died, but as far as NBC knows, there is at least one death. Is that right?
That's right, Kate. And again, going back to what we heard a short time ago from that press conference with officials in Midland, Texas, in the western part of the state, they say that there are at least 11 victims. That is the term they used, 11 victims. And they say there was one victim who is dead at the scene of this situation. We're also, at this point, trying to get further clarity on exactly what the status is of the at least one suspect in this incident. Authorities so far saying there is at least one suspect from this incident, saying that this male suspect first they said was contained and then saying was detained. I think when we talk about these kinds of situations, those terms can mean different things. So trying to get some further clarity on what the status is of this suspect. Is this person in custody? Is this someone who was taken out by authorities, who was killed by authorities? So those are questions that we'll try to get further clarity on in the minutes and hours ahead moving forward. This happened, according to officials, around 8 in the morning local time. So that would have been around 3 hours ago that they got the first calls coming in for first responder help. Authorities making a point of saying at that press conference that at this point they do not need blood. Gave people a sense of where they can donate if they want to for future needs, but making a point of saying they do not need blood donations at this point, and also gave people a place to direct other donations like food to help those in need in the aftermath of this. But as you said, Kate, fluid situation, very preliminary details. This was the first time we heard from authorities after word of a possible incident had been trickling out on social media. And so we'll just be keeping an eye on what authorities say throughout the day for updates.
Yeah. And Jesse, we're seeing some local reports, and I don't know if they addressed this in the press conference at all because I actually wasn't watching yet when that happened. There were reports that this suspect, one person, might have barricaded themselves inside of a building. Have you heard anything about that?
We didn't get much on the suspect from the press conference, Kate, so I think those are questions that we'll also be following up on. I do want to share an update we just got from Midland Memorial Hospital. They say that they have received 9 victims from the active shooter incident, 4 of which are in the operating room. 5 of the people who were brought there are stable. So, just speaking to the severity of the injuries, Kate, because, in incidents like this, people can be taken to the hospital with everything from a rolled ankle when they're trying to run away from the incident to grave gunshot wounds. So just speaking to the severity of these wounds, we know that at least 4 people are in the operating room requiring some form of surgery. So it just speaks to the severity of some of the injuries that are coming out of this. And again, in total, what we know from authorities is that there are at least 11 victims and at least one victim has lost their life, Kate.
Yeah, and certainly a very traumatic time for the community of Midland. We've been hearing the local anchors talk about how people are getting alerts on their phone. It's very scary to be in a lockdown situation, so we hope it resolves.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.